Hello. So this is one of the notebooks from this year, and this is the notebook I used when it was One Book July, and I had different subject matters on different notebooks, but I have to admit I was missing the elegance and practicality of a one book. Therefore, I took part in a One Book July. However, as this Big Bertha continued on growing, I did notice how challenging it was to flip from one page and one subject matter to the other, and I went to traveler's notebooks. I make my own. I have some from the travelers factories, but I only use them for hiking, for nature journaling, due to their size. However, that's a story for another time, but I went to traveler's notebooks so I can have different subject matters on separate notebooks, but within the same covers. However, this how I started, with every year, when every year passes, I go through these notebooks and I store them chronologically. And I was going through these notebooks and I thought I will show you, first of all, a little bit of a ritual of a notebook, because I just have this inkling that this December is a very good, it has old roots in different kind of rituals of well-wishing, and then some, but there are some habits that I've acquired when it comes to starting a notebook. First, I like to set intention, to set, in a way, to give the notebook a job. And this notebook was absolutely, offered no change in that. And then there was some random piece, just random Italian words. I study Italian language every day. I like to think that I'm very much in the very beginnings, but I've done it consistently now for several months already, so I tend to find these little papers here and there. This one is coffee dyed. I like the gentleness and kind of a unassuming nature of paper when it is dyed. So how do I go about it? First of all, usually I have the information, months, etc., etc. in the very beginning. I'm not going to show you because it is personal. This is not for show. Obviously, I practically forgot about the channel for several months, and just because I didn't have the time at the time to do anything extra. But in the back here, this is just a band from a skein of yarn and just some random pieces of washi tape, and this was on my desk and I just slapped it there. In the back is what I tend to do is to start to collect my Commonplace book, which has a kind of a renaissance, it is my understanding, in the world of social media now. What really it is a notebook that collects information, quotes, some words. And this one, I have to admit that this is a very it almost, this one, what's this one? I think this is some kind of a recipe. Oh yeah, I made a body butter. So this is even borderline creative journal, creative notebook. But what I do when I'm done with this is, say there's still, you know, white spots. I still have some work to do. And what do is I take apart the Commonplace book from the behind of the notebook and carry on using it and store away the diary, the planner, the lists. I love lists. You know, some sort, you know, all of that. I store that for posterity until I've had a couple of sessions when I just, you know, burn my own journals. I still have some dried leaves and dried plants here. I have to, there's still, you know, there's still space. There are still things to do here. And just a kind of a very brief flip through. This is a streaming camera. This is not ideal for this kind of a situation happening here, but you know, you get an idea. This is when I had some, I think I had some yarrow or whatnot, and I decided to try some monoprinting. So there. And again, more dried flora. And a little bit more. So that, you know, there are some spaces, but I was really, if memory serves me right, this was Croxley's hot pressed paper. And I was astounded of how well this took different medium, really. As you see, I have these dried plants here, and they were kind of I don't press them in any kind of a fancy in any kind of a fancy way. I just shove them in between the pages of my notebook and wish them well, hope for the best. So, but this is very surprising, this paper. This is I think this is just, you know, watercolor and metallic watercolor and gel pens, just some, you know, doodling illustrations. This was a handmade paper I made from, I don't even remember what. I still have things to do here. This is a tissue. I use we use napkins made of fabric. So I saw these flowers, and these flowers, what I see on the screen, is a very good replica of the napkin. And these are a few pages from behind another old notebook, but I just, you know, it was just a couple of pages, and I was thinking it's much too flimsy to be left on its own devices. The problem with acrylics is that, you know, they tend to, when they get stuck together, they tend to rip away. I need to try some matte medium if that would hold the stickiness at distance. This is a what was it? World Watercolor Month. This was when I really started to take myself. I wanted to hold myself accountable, and so this is watercolor. Just, you know, several layers of watercolor only, and it's not even finished, but it's, you know, it was good enough. And this is on this, you know, Croxley's hot pressed paper, and but I really wanted to make myself accountable for taking the time and do something creative. This page actually I took from my old notebook from a couple of years ago. This is another kind of like an illustration thing. It's just watercolor and gel pens again. I love gel pens. And I've grown to like watercolor. I used to not like watercolor at all. I used to paint only and only with the oils. But then I decided to, you know, there were some changes in life and etc. etc. I decided to change and try other things. We have a cat that has a personality the size of a Goliath, and in comparison to her physical size, she's teeny tiny, but she's so funny. She rests oftentimes like that. I'll leave it at that. And I always tend to find these feathers when I walk. I love it. I oftentimes have crows and ravens following me when I go, and this is my mark. This is the middle of two signatures here, because these pages are filled here. Now, how do we find the middle of signatures? Is when you look into, this is the spine of the notebook. So when you look at the spine of a notebook, you see these different signatures here. I had a little bit of an accident with an ink a couple of days ago. I've been trying to scrape the remnants away, so pardon me if I even cut my nails short, because the look was not very wonderful at all. So all of these little bunches of paper are signatures. You have each folded paper is a folder. X amount of these papers make a signature, and then you bind the signatures to a book. If you want to afterwards, and this is what I call, always so very lovingly, a half, I wonder if I can say the N word, which means without clothing, that kind of a book. This is just a print. I found it on Pinterest. I printed it and glued it here. These are just randomities that probably were just thrifting, wandering about on a kitchen table or in some kind of a desk, and then I just left them there. And I put the rubber band to hold the shebang together, because it's quite large. So what do we do have here is, these are memories of probably watercolor, because you know they seep through. And I've noticed I love mulberry paper. It's very thin, it's very malleable, and it's very strong. So when I bind these books, I tend to glue a strip of mulberry paper here, because it lasts a lifetime. It gives structure and strength to the spine, but it doesn't restrict the let me try and find a page where I don't have any. So let's just take, you know, one of these Commonplace Book pages. So it doesn't restrict the movement of the spine at all. It's very flexible. There's instant 180 degrees of it's a very friendly notebook when it comes to complete openness, because I don't like to have, I've had enough of interesting situations in my life. I will not negotiate with a notebook. It will stay open very strictly. I'm not gonna have a conversation about that, not with a notebook. So what I do is I cut in between these. Hold on, I have a cutter here. You just need a very sharp blade. I've noticed that blade is more practical than scissors, and you go very neatly in between these signatures and from inside. I'll show you, because I'm going to separate the notebook from, oh, another one. This is a meadowsweet. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. This is you know, you make an infusion like a tea from, you know, dried meadowsweet, and you get an aspirin-like effect. It takes away pain. It's, if you need some blood thinning, does the trick. It's almost like heal all herb from nature. Yeah, these were used otherwise. So now, because I had bound and glued this quite methodically, you don't see any kind of a gap. You can have a gap here. That is not dangerous. You can sometimes have in between signatures, when you open them up, you can have a little, just a little bit of a, it's almost like a fraction of glue, and it has glued the pages just a tad. What I usually do is I take the notebook and then I open. The fibers in the paper will give out, and it's almost like, it's not a significant tear. It doesn't do anything when it comes to the integrity of the paper, and it's let's put it in a structure and how strong it is. It has no effect on that, really. You can do that, but sometimes that happens in between signatures, especially if you have some factory bound notebook. Like, I've often seen them. I have an A4 master, kind of an A4 plus from Leuchtturm 1917. It's an A4 plus. It is a tad larger than an A4, and every single in between signatures were glued in a way, because, you know, they are bound, they are glued, they are pressed. They don't wait in between. So when they get pressed, the extra glue seeps through here. So I needed to open up in between the signatures on every single one when I started to use the notebook. Wonderful paper, by the way. Now let's see if I can do. What do I usually do is I'll just try to shimmy the camera just a little bit. What I usually do, especially because, you know, this is quite tight, you don't have any leeway here, and I'm hoping the camera would have the common sense to focus. We can't, you know, we can't trust on that. So what do is I don't open the notebook fully. I leave it just a little bit. I open it just ever so slightly, and then run the blade in between the signatures, and you can see it's starting to come through already. I don't know if it, you know, it probably doesn't focus. I mean, let's not try and be Don Quixote and do the impossible with the windmills here. Now you can see there's a little bit of a tear already, separation in between the signatures, and we'll just continue. Now what happens is, teeny tiny, I made this back in the years. I usually have it on the table just because it's so cute, it's so tiny, it makes me happy. So what do we have here now is the notebookish side of that notebook I bound during the summertime for the One Book July, and you can see how warped this side is, and that is because I had so much in between the pages of the Commonplace book, much more so than usual. I just felt I started to paint with the watercolors, and I started to just take some time to read books and write down quotes and, you know, do all the things I used to do before I somehow allowed life to get too busy, hectic. And here we are now. This was the notebookish part. Much easier on the hands. The size of the papers are the same as there is. Hold on. Just give me a moment here. So the size of the pages here are exactly the same, 13 centimeters and 21 centimeters. It's the same as with the large Moleskine notebook. This actually is a planner, 2025, 2020, 2024, 2025 planner, but I've used this as a again as a catch-all, like I did to that, just because I absolutely, and I'll show you because I have hundreds probably empty pages still here. These are 2025 October 27th. This is a 60 GSM paper, quite lovely paper. I got this on a mail, and I was thinking 608 pages in 60 GSM, and I decided to take a risk and see how the paper pans out. And you know what? Maybe I'll need to do another kind of a post about this, but just you know, let's keep in mind this is Moleskine paper. I'm choosing to pronounce it in a way that is pronounced in Italian way, because Moleskine is owned by an Italian company. However, the Moleskine used to be, when it was founded, it was French, and I've heard French people call Moleskine Moleskine. So I suppose it either is the same, and it was my understanding that the CEO of the company said that, you know, call it whatever you will. Of course, you know, he's selling the product. He's not going to be saying you shan't pronounce it in this and that way. However, to get to the point, very different pens, some are very juicy, some are very runny. I have some Kuretake calligraphy, and the one pen that seeped through just a little bit was a Japanese identity pen, which is a soluble. So this is a marker actually. This isn't just a pen. So yeah, it shades through because, you know, the paper is wafer thin. It's not really wafer thin. It's 60 GSM. But however, this one here is coming from the inks. These are fountain pen inks. Without going into the detail, these are just soaked in fountain pen ink. I think these are 3 layers of fountain pen ink, like wet on wet with a methodology. I wanted to see how long I can stretch the qualities of the paper. The one thing that was on the verge of seeping through was from Diamine, this green black ink. This is very runny, I know that, but you know, I have writer's blood here, chocolate brown, nothing of the sort happened, you know, in terms of bleeding through. Nothing. Maybe this one a little bit. That was Winston Newton. And some drawing inks from Kohinoor. Again, absolutely stellar reaction. Some White Knights watercolors. Nothing. These two were so problematic that I've never used them anywhere. They run through everything. I'm pretty sure, you know, sure if I should I have dropped them on the floor, they would have found their way all the way to China. I think they will just go through everything, and just like they did this time, I ended up tossing them away. This was some other just, you know, random watercolor pen that I've had forever and a day. So this paper is very good. But then, and I have to say, I blame Seaweed Kisses for this. When I say I blame, I owe her a huge big thank you, because then I found Vietnamese paper in Moleskine Daily, and it was like the heavens opened, and the lords of greatness in terms of paper, precision, and art, and everything good under the sun was revealed to me. And now I can't use any other paper. So what happened was I was using the hope I didn't flash anything here. I was using these all the way to 265 page, and then I stopped because I found some of the good Moleskine Daily paper, and now I can't use anything else. So a little bit of a detour there. I can get a little bit chatty every now and then. So now I have the Commonplace book, creative journal. It's not really a journal. I haven't journaled here. I have had creative journals. I have creative journals. I have illustrated journal. I have my adventure journal where I write and print pictures with my Sprocket Plus when I'm walking in the woods and find new forests and new birds and new plant life. Now it's, you know, it's pretty much getting very cold and the winter is upon us, so not as much a documentation going on there, but I think I'm going to create some kind of a jacket to this friend. I think I'm going to maybe paint a cover. I don't know. I certainly am. I am going to feel, because, you know, I don't mind pages like these. I'm not completely OCD that I have to feel every surface with the writing, but you know, when I see pages like these, I just see lost opportunities, and you could just, you know, find beautiful quotes, or, you know, do pretty little things here, and, you know, all these tip-ins that I have, and, you know, thingy things, maybe some more acrylics. You know, this paper is quite lovely. When I do acrylics here, it's like I don't even, or watercolor for that matter, I don't need any gesso underneath. It doesn't require, like these, it's a stamp. As you can see, I wonder if you can see, it's just painted on a paper. Straight. Without any fiddling, without any layers of gesso, and it takes it like a champion. It's the same with the watercolor. who knows how I lost count how many layers I painted here on the eye, because I wanted to recreate the tear there, the kind of a watery eyes and a tear there trickling down. And but when it came to the skin around the eye, I was thinking I will just, maybe I'll just do, eyes and a nose and a mouth or some such, I don't know, kind of a just a sketching, testing, practice. That's always a good choice. So there, and this is how I go about when it comes to demolishing my notebooks. I'm not a servant when it comes to my notebooks. If anything, it goes the other way around. They are here to serve me in a way that they are here to make my life easier, to bring a little bit of, kind of like a little piece of calm on my brain. That is, I'm constantly having these chatterings and mutterings and ideation of different things. Even today, when I woke up half an hour after midnight, I haven't slept since. I'm really physically tired, but my mind is racing like a squirrel on speed. And I always have these ideas. I have to have a notebook where I have a space that I can quickly open it up, like so, and write something down immediately, because otherwise I probably will forget that. So I always have to, and especially now I have some things that are best spoken in legalese, things that I need to finish, things that I need to see through. So I can't afford to lose any strings of thoughts. And then I have this whole creative side as well, that is much bigger, much stronger, and much more, I have to say, appreciated. So it's these levels, they help me to keep my life in order. Once one large notebook, and then it kind of experienced a mitosis of a sort in a way. I did use nearly 2,500 pages from this before I met, because I started from the back. How I go about it, I start from the front and go to the middle, and then when it comes to the Commonplace book, I start from the back and go to the middle. Where they meet, I cut them separate at the kind of a connection point of two signatures. Sometimes I've been much too eager, because I like writing. So when I've been writing, I oftentimes have gone, over these signatures. So then what happens is just say I need to cut it open from here, then I just cut it open from here, and I just dab some glue or put a piece of tape or something. It generally doesn't need that much more, because when you've bound the book well, it stays. It doesn't, nothing happens to this. It doesn't start and fray away. All the pages are very, as you can see, the yarn that I used to sew this, and this wasn't even waxed proper. I actually now have proper waxed yarn, and that is just because I was doing some leather work. But the pages, they don't go anywhere. They don't rip apart. You don't have to. Notebooks are much like humans and flowers. They can take much more than usually is considered. So I can try and yank pages apart. They're not going anywhere. And it's the same here. You can try and pull these apart. Okay, I know nothing is here, But you know, if you just cut very carefully along the edge of the signature, what can happen oftentimes, you can have a little bit of a kind of a like a tear here, there, and everywhere. But like this time, there was nothing. And the knots hold on, they carry. The integrity of the notebook is not being destroyed. Should you want to, now if you are a bit of a kind of a very particular about how you like your notebooks to look like, if you want them to be of uniform appearance or anything, you can absolutely. It still is a soft cover without clothes. I can't say the N word. The kind of a book you can just, you know, create covers and make it a proper hardcover book if you want to. If you want to. I can't be bothered. These, again, these serve me, and I like a little bit of a more loose touch when it comes to my notebooks. I like them to be a little bit of a more of an unserious sort. They don't have to be so prim and proper. I certainly am not one myself. Anyways, I think I've yabbered already over 36 minutes, and it is time for me to have a sip of the tea. Wish everyone a lovely evening. But I just wanted to show how, because especially if you bind the books yourself, the notebooks, you know how they've been done. You know they are sturdy. You know they're not going anywhere. Especially when you do them with, I think I did this with Coptic stitches, with Coptic knots. You know, the knots alone, and the glue, and the mulberry paper, because I didn't have any kind of a fabric here that usually is, you know, usually you have a piece of mull here on the spine. I don't have mull. I use what I have at home. I have old sheets and some such, but I'm absolutely loving the mulberry paper. So I'm practically just slabbing it everywhere where I can, and then some. So, wishing everyone well. Thank you for the company if you made it this far. I wish you happy writings, happy paintings, happy scribblings, happy doodlings, happy brainstorming, happy everything. Take care. Be well.